Hello and welcome to The Print. I'm Deepika Amirapu and I'm joining you for the conversation today from the Rayalaseema region, which has produced at least 8 chief ministers in Andhra Pradesh. My guest today is Y.S. Sharmila Reddy, the Andhra Pradesh Congress Committee President, also daughter of that late Chief Minister, Dr. Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy. She also belongs to the Rayalaseema region and has just concluded one part of her yatra to protest against the centre's renaming and redevelopment of the NREGA program, which provided employment to lakhs of unemployed, not just in Andhra Pradesh, but across the country. Thank you and welcome to the conversation. Welcome to The Print. It's a pleasure to have you here. Hearing your speech, this afternoon, very, very sunny already. I was reminded of the time when NREGA was actually launched more than 20 years ago in Bandlapalli in Anantapur district. It was when Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Dr. Manmohan Singh were also present with your father to launch this program. You were not in politics then, but what was your first memory of the NREGA at that point in time, now that you're opposing its renaming today?
I remember my father being very proud of this. Um, he took pride in the fact that the scheme was going to provide employment for the rural people. Uh, the worst hit people of poverty are the rural people because either they have to work for whatever less or little wages they get for the for the farming, or they have to starve. They didn't have another alternative.
Right.
So he was very happy that this Mahatma Gandhi, this employment generation guarantee scheme, was going to give them bargaining power.
Right.
In a way, these people had the option of going and working at this scheme, the Upadhi Hami it's called here, or they could choose to work under a farmer, or in a farmland or anything else.
That's right.
Previously this option was not there, thereby this labor was exploited by the farmers, you can say. So they didn't have an option, either they had to starve or work for the little wages that they used to get. So in a way, this gave them bargaining power, a sense of respect. Dignity was very one thing that my dad said mattered.
Right.
And yeah, so he was very happy about this scheme. And I remember, actually, I was showing Rahul Gandhi ji also the video of the day when this was launched 2000 in 2020 in 2006, 20 years ago. He was also very happy seeing the video. The video very clearly showed Rajshekhar Reddy and Mrs. Sonia Gandhi ji and Manmohan Singh ji. All the way they came to Anantapur in
Right.
Bandlapalli,
Right.
and it was such a joyous moment. Everybody was just beaming with joy. There was laughter on all the faces, and he was also very happy seeing that.
Right.
So we kind of reminisced and thought such a beautiful scheme it was, and BJP is bent on distorting it now. So that's why no other state has taken this up as a tour, but in Andhra Pradesh we decided to take it up as a tour and visit every district, because I don't know about the rest of the country, but to Andhra Pradesh this has meant a lot. This
Right.
scheme means a lot, and distorting it would actually mean pulling away employment from them, and may actually again lead to migration and unemployment and things like that.
Right. Yatras are very central to Andhra's politics. Your father became the chief minister first time in 2004 after undertaking a phenomenal yatra across the state again. But if we were to step back another 20, 25 years, when you were born, 1980 was when your father first became minister in the Andhra Assembly. He was rural development minister. He'd probably just joined the Congress 2 years ago. So it would be fair to say that the year you were born, I think you brought your father a lot of luck. And probably that's what, makes the both of you share such a beautiful bond. You did share such a beautiful bond.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the bond that you shared with your father?
Dad and I were very, 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 very close. I mean, he meant the world to me, and I should say the same of him. I meant the world to him. he would, doesn't matter, even if it was in 100 people that he was, the moment he saw me, his hand always went like that. He would stretch out his hand, he would invite me into his embrace and kiss me. And it was a very special bond. He was very, very important to me. And I also remember that when I was a kid, he used to count and have me kiss him 100 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were his favorite, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, so you saw politics all about you, all around you, but you chose to stay away for a significant period of time. Is there any particular reason?
Yes, growing up, I felt my dad was never around. He was so busy with politics. I hardly got to see him, I felt. I would have loved to have more of him, I thought. And this was a constant thought in me that I missed my dad. I deserve more of him. I should have more of him. It's not right for him to be away from me, kind of a feeling. So when I had my own children, I did not want that for my children. I had clearly made up my mind that as long as my children need me, I am going to stay put. I am not going to let anything else deter me, pull me
Right,
away from them. So until they actually finish their 12th grade, both the kids, I refused to let anything else pull me away from them.
right.
And but as soon as my daughter finished her 12th and we sent her away, my son had gone ahead itself, and we sent her away also. Then that's when I really thought of doing something with my time.
Right. Perhaps a personal tragedy that happened in 2009 changed things around, not just for Andhra Pradesh, but for you personally, and also for your entire family, and the countless number of people who depended on the Congress government schemes in Andhra. I remember visiting your home in the camp office in 2009 when we heard of Dr. Vaisa, the late Chief Minister's sudden passing. I was given to understand you didn't want to believe at first that his chopper went missing. Or you probably thought it was because of a bad weather and the chopper would have landed somewhere, safely somewhere. What went through your mind?
I was devastated. My mom was also devastated. We were all devastated. It was just unbelievable. Dad is such a lively person, and everywhere he went, there was life. There was life all around him. The way he talked, the way he moved, the way he gave confidence to people, everything. So there was life all around him, and suddenly it was very, very hard for me to digest the fact that he probably is not going to be around. Yeah, I refused to believe it for a long, long
Yes, sir.
time. And it took a lot of time for me and for mom also, I should say, to actually come to terms that he is not around. Yeah, it was a very hard time. Um, it was not just a personal tragedy. Yes, the state also suffered. Dad was very, very um, uh, adamant, I should say, about doing the Jala Yajna. He
Yes.
had this passion about completing all the irrigation projects that Andhra Pradesh needed. That way, he could irrigate, he would help irrigate at least 1 crore acres of land.
Right.
That was a plan of Jala Yajnam, in which Polavaram was also a part of it. It was very, very important for him that he finish this. He took it up and he felt that he was born to do it, he was called to do it. And even during the elections, before he passed that summer election, uh, Congress was just tagging a little bit for a while.
Right.
And I remember Dad was so anxious. He kept saying that if we don't come back to power, the projects will, they'll cease to be worked upon. These projects are not going to get done. It's very important we come back to power. It's very important we finish this. So I feel had Dad finished all those, he would have gone in peace. I still feel that those projects need to be completed. Even to this day, in spite of so many chief ministers, those projects remain unfinished. And
Right.
that's very sad. Um,
Have a sip. Were you ready for the political opportunity, however timely or untimely that it came in 2009. It was a vacuum that was created with the sudden passing. Um, of course, by your account, you tell me that your brother at that point, Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu, did not make an open declaration that he wanted to be chief minister, but there are records that prove otherwise. Were you ready as a family for that opportunity?
We were definitely not ready. Nobody was ready. None of us was ready. But what had to be done had to be done. I don't think I want to get into the details of it now.
Right. So when you got into a huddle and the entire yatra happened, that would have been your probably your first steps into active politics at that point. You had never made a public speech. You just were stepping into politics. What was your journey like at that point in time to face crowds who were probably grieving as much as you were, who also came forward to console you? Um, it was a grief that bound not just a family together, but also brought the state together. Talk to us a little bit about your yatra and your learnings from the yatra.
I think the people of Andhra Pradesh were in a shock. It was not just a tragedy like only for us, but it was a tragedy for the entire state, especially the poor people, especially the farmers. Everything that Dad did um originated because of his compassion for the people. Take, for example, the Arogyashri,
Yeah, right.
in which he knew that if a poor family was affected by an illness, then it drove that family into debts. The only way that family could survive is if government
Yes.
provides help. So like that, he understood the pulse of the people. He understood what the people needed. These days, the governments just dole out one or two welfare schemes,
Right.
and they think that's enough. They're going to fetch us votes. That's not how Dad thought. Dad, he understood the psychology, the and the necessities of the people so much so that all the schemes that were his brainchild were from his heart. He
Right.
saw the need of the people. He saw the need of the hour. He felt Arogyasri was a health scheme that the people needed and that indeed did a lot of benefit to a lot of poor people. The same with the fees reimbursement.
Emery.
Yeah, so many children were suffering. They just couldn't get through the studies because of the lack of funds. So Dad made sure that so many doctors and engineers and MCAs, all these kind of people were, what he had in mind, and he supported them. He encouraged them. After Dad passed, during these yatras, I remember a lot of people coming up and saying, "We got this cream. Either we got Arogyashri, or we got the fees reimbursement, or we got our loan waived off as a farmer, or we got the 25 NP interest free loans for
Right.
the women." People like these used to come up and encourage us. They used to tell their story, and everyone had a story.
Yes.
Everyone had a story, and it was very encouraging.
What did you
So,
glean about your father's style of governance, or about the idea of where he got his welfare and development plans from the yatras that you made? You'd have loved to be an apprentice, a political apprentice to your
yes,
father, but unfortunately, your baby steps into politics were taken after his passing. What did you glean from his style of governance?
he was a people's man. He was not the one that would just sit in a political office somewhere and then just meet a few people, say 4 days a week. Or in today's politics, leaders don't even, once they come into power, leaders don't even make the time to meet their own party leaders, meet their own party cadre. That was not Dad's style. Dad was a people's man. And in spite of all my complaining as a child, he said he had to be amongst the people. And he used to sit me down and tell me, "Papa, when I'm with them, I don't remember anything else. I want to be with them. They make me forget everything else, and they give me a purpose. They make me feel like I have a calling. I have to be with them. I have to go." So, I mean, he was a people's man, and he used to spend at least 5 days a week, I think, as I grew up.
Right.
with the people. He was hardly home, I should say. Until he actually became the chief minister, he was not stationed in Hyderabad. So he was always on the move, always among the people, and that, I should say, gave him a 360-degree perspective about the lives of the people. You know, the how people thought, what people needed, um, how their lives worked, how they would prosper, or what made them, what pushed them into debts, things like these, the practicalities of life.
Right.
I think he got directly from the people.
Right.
It was a first hand information.
Was
And
it
he also went on a padayatra. So I think everything put together, he understood the geography of Andhra Pradesh so well, he understood the psychology of the people of Andhra Pradesh so well, that by the time he became the chief minister, he knew what had to be done. He knew so clearly. So, it was very, very, the blueprint was there in his head already. He knew what projects needed to come in which place for irrigation projects. He knew what schemes had to be done for the welfare of the
right?
people.
Right.
And then it was just simple for him. He just went ahead and executed it.
So
And I
when
remember even in the execution part, he used to tell me that people are always discouraging. They say we don't have funds for this, or we this won't work like this is not practical. And it's always, everybody is, I don't know why, for some reason they are just trying to pull me down, but I have to, it's so much of resistance, be the only one who has to say no, we have to make this work, guys, and we have to go ahead. So that was it. He had that determination,
yeah,
and he had the plan.
genuine interest.
Yes, yes, yes. He was truly compassionate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can tell how fond you are of your father because you're just beaming year to year each time you speak about him or everything that he did. After his passing, when you took up the 3,000-kilometer yatra, it's no mean feat, Shamila Garu. It's not easy for someone, not just someone who's grown up even in a political family. You were a novice at that point in time. You were still grieving. What transpired at that point when the Congress party had actually denied you the opportunity to go around for the Odarpu Yatra? You decided to do this yourselves because it's part of your culture. You said it's part of our collective state's culture. You decided to do this yourself. What did you glean at that point in time from your yatra?
Again, it was a very emotional one. My understanding of the Congress then was that they, they implicated my brother, my father in the charge sheets, and they are trying to make us look bad in the sight of the public. I mean, there were a lot of misunderstandings, I should say. Now, looking back, when I step back and look at the whole thing, now I understand a lot of things better. But the yatra itself was, yeah, was no small feat. I remember it was very, very hard for me. Sometimes in the beginning of the yatras, I wouldn't know tears were rolling down my, yeah, and it was very hard. But over time, uh, I started looking at people's lives as I walked through, and I kind of developed an affinity. I mean, towards the people. I I kind of learned to enjoy interacting with them, and as it got by, it got simpler and easier. And yeah, it's some. I can't say it's something I hated doing, but it's taught me a lot.
You had to do it.
Yes, I had
It's
to do
something
it.
that had to be done.
Yes, and looking back, I would say that it's taught me a lot about life. And I also remember the when I got back from the yatra, and now I was living comfortably again in my house, and for a while it actually seemed like all this is farce. The actual life is way different from what I'm living now. The people, their lives, their living, their livelihood uh, had such an impact on me that everything else seemed farce.
Yes. You talked at some point that it nearly took you about 9 months to a year to actually come to terms with your loss. But going around during the yatra and actually listening to people and their grievances, did it nurture a sense of political ambition at that point? Or a small, did it seed the thought that at some point you may want to do something for the people?
Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't lie and say it didn't. It was not a political ambition, I would say, but it was more so like I wish I did something for them. I wish I was helpful. Uh, I was never a politically ambitious person. Actually, I've lacked ambition all my life. Doesn't matter which area, I've lacked ambition in every area. Neither my school or my studies or my companies or politics, anything. I've always lacked on ambition. I was a very laid back, individual. I just took life very easy. I made sure I laughed a lot. I made sure I played a lot. And my father made sure that I didn't have the stress of anything. He always said, take it easy. He always said, just live life, just be happy, just laugh a lot. So I was never an ambitious person. I wouldn't say I had a political ambition then, but yes, I did want myself to be doing something. I wanted myself to be more, I wished I was more, could be of some use to people.
There was a promise at some point that was made, not that you asked for it, for a Rajya Sabha seat. It would have been easier for you to probably test the waters to see how things worked out politically. Why didn't that come through?
Mm, like I said again, I was not a politically ambitious person. So even though promises were made, I was not someone who would put my foot down and say, this was made, this was a promise made to me, so now deliver it. I never did that. Um, Promises were made, and then promises wanted to be withdrawn. I did not resist. I said, it's okay, it's fine. If it's not meant to be, it's not going to happen. So I guess I didn't care much about not being, those promises not being fulfilled, really.
So, somewhere between then and the state's formation, again, a lot of things changed from your father's passing in 2009 to 2014. A lot of things changed. Andhra got bifurcated. Today, we're in two states. So, at that point, YSRCP also came up subsequently. You were not even a member of the party when you undertook the yatra. You were still one family unit. And because your brother was jailed at that point in time, your mother and you went around because that's what needed to be done. Subsequently, after the YSRCP was formed, now that you had a structure, the party had a structure, someone in your family had that. Did you ever think of being there, joining that?
Um, like I said, initially, I was not politically ambitious. I was not someone who said, give me this, I want this. Uh, they made the promises, they broke the promises. So I was like, it's still okay. I mean, we are still a family. You still want me to do this for you. I'll do it for you, kind. I didn't really mind not being a member or not being an important part of the party and yet being used by them. Frankly, I didn't mind it. I just thought it was family. It's okay.
What was the turning point for you to decide to come up and take up political entrepreneurship? Not that South India is new to it. For someone who's a management graduate, um, it was not too difficult to think up of this idea. So, at what made you take that decision?
Well, my children had left home. I had a lot of time on my hands. And at that point in time, uh, Mr. Prashant Kishore approached me. And even before that, he used to suggest that I do something with my time, with my life. And yeah, so I guess upon a lot of deliberations and things like that, I decided why not? Might as well put my
So,
time
there was an
to good
opportunity
use.
again.
Yeah, I don't know if there was an opportunity or not. I just thought the Telangana government was not doing justice to the people of Telangana. I was living there then, my life was there.
Yes.
So I felt a natural inclination that these people deserved better. and KCR's government failed them. All of YSR schemes were dying down, and the Kaleshwaram corruption was up, and things like that. And I really felt that there was a need for a voice in Telangana. Nobody was speaking against the corruption of KCR at that point in time. Even Congress party was a very, almost a no
Yeah,
force
at
kind
one
of
point
thing.
it said that the Congress party was more in cahoots with the Bharat Rashtra Samiti or Telangana Rashtra Samiti
Yeah,
at that
I
point in
felt
time and
that.
supporting it externally.
Yeah,
So which is why you decided to come and form the YSR Telangana party.
exactly. I felt that nobody was voicing the, the grouse of the people, the general public in special way. So I felt there was a need in Telangana, and I felt there was somebody has to voice that KCR's government is corrupt, and nobody was daring to do that, not even the Congress. Therefore, yes, we floated YSR Telangana Party because I felt a strong need that the Telangana people deserved better.
But it wasn't strategic that you would probably try and hold reins in Telangana while YSRCP would do that in Andhra. Wasn't that also a
Not at
strategic
all.
decision?
Not at all.
You belong to Rayalaseema. Andhra would have been a natural home turf for you.
It never occurred to me, Telangana was my home. I mean, I've lived there, I've been there. Um, it never occurred to me that I don't belong here or I belong here, If anything, I belong to both places. So, no, Telangana didn't seem foreign to me. I was not alien to it. Its culture, its place, its geography. I know everything. And I was more drawn towards the cause of Telangana because I really, really felt that KCR could have done better and he didn't. Just because he was just laid back, just because he achieved what he wanted, and thereby, the whole government was like um, in doldrums. And the second time that Mr. KCR won, um, it was not because KCR did well, it was because there was no other alternative. Uh, Therefore, yes, so Telangana seemed the most potential choice. Yeah.
That brings me to the question to ask you, why did you step away from contesting during the 2023 elections?
Well, the surveys at that time said that Congress is having a good chance now because of Rahul Gandhiji's Padayatra then. Then Karnataka had come in, Congress had come up in Karnataka in that election, and it was looking really, really bright for the Congress. For some reason, Congress had resurfaced. Revant ji was a good orator, and for some reason, the chances for Congress forming the government were really bright. And if YSR Telangana party contested this election, then I would be, splitting the Congress vote bank more than I would be splitting the BRS vote bank, because Rajshekar Reddy is a congressman, and people who see me as his daughter, as his legacy, are going to be the Congress voters that would have otherwise voted for the Congress. It was a very, very painful decision for me to not contest that election, because I had again walked another 3,700
Right,
kilometers
right.
then, and it was probably one of the most difficult decisions of my life. But I had to do it because if we contested, then we would have impacted more than 40 seats. We would have helped KCR win and the Congress lose.
Okay.
That's what the survey said then, and I wanted to be true to myself. I mean, there was still this chance, this opportunity that doesn't matter what happens to the Congress. I am going to go to the assembly. I am going to win in Khammam. If I contested in Paleru, there were very, very fat chances that I would win. The survey said that I would definitely make it. But just for my one seat, I did not want to tarnish the uh, plans of the Congress, because, in a way, we were not sure YSR Telangana party would form the government. We were not that strong then.
Right.
But Congress could form the could form the government is what the survey said, if we didn't come in the way. Therefore, it was a very hard choice for me, but it had to be done.
Tell me something, who approached whom first? Was it the Congress party who came to you? Or was it your decision after all of these surveys and the results of the surveys that pointed towards the Congress having a better chance at winning?
Even before all of this happened, I had met Sonia ji and Rahul ji in connection with the election, whether we can work together or whether we can seat share kind of a thing, or how to go about this. Because I put before them the survey reports. I'm sure they had their survey also done, and and in that meeting, I remember Sonia ji said. I asked her actually even before all of this began. Um, I asked the question that why was my father named in the charge sheet. I said that I was very disappointed, and I said that Congress shouldn't have done this. It was like backstabbing him, and she said, "No, Sharmila, we were not the ones who did it. I know the pain of having, the name implicated in the charge sheet after the death of the person. The same thing happened to Rajiv ji. After Rajiv ji died,
Bofors.
yes, his name was included in the Bofors charge sheet. I know the pain of it. I did not do this. I would not want this for Ashikar. I had great affection for him, and I would not do this. With all my integrity, I am saying that I did not do this. We did not do this.
So, was that
And
a salve for your wounds? A lot of things were said, a lot
exactly,
of water had passed
yeah,
under.
it mattered a
So,
lot. That it was. I
what
think
was that exchange like between you and your mother and Sonia ji and Rahul ji being there? What was the
uh,
atmosphere like?
it was. No, my mom did not come. It was just me. It was very warm. It was very emotional, and Sonia ji asked me, "Can I hug you?" And I said, "Sure, ma'am." And she hugged me, and there were tears in. I mean, it was just too emotional. It was very bonding. It was very warm, and the way they greeted me, the way they spoke with me, everything changed from then on, I should say.
I think for the third time, things were changing drastically for you. First
Yes,
in 2009, the
yes.
state's bifurcation, and then again, you forming the YSRTP party, and now probably the Congress told you to go back to Andhra. How did you take that decision? You'd almost mentally made up your mind to be with the people of Telangana.
I had. But once it was evident that YSR Telangana party was not going to form the government in Telangana, Congress had a chance to form the government in Telangana. The only way this could work out is that I pull out from the election. After which they invited me into the Congress. They said, "You've done a lot for the Congress. You sacrificed a lot. You've given up your stake. Please join us." And I believed we could make a difference. And once I was in the Congress, they very politely asked me if I was willing to go to Andhra. There was no pressure from them. Um, I asked for some time to think about it. Um, but I mean, I was not of any use in Telangana. And if in Andhra I'm able to pick up the Congress party, then yes, I found some worth in it, some work to do there.
Right.
And I truly believe that Congress party, I mean, I had always known Congress party is a good party, the most democratic party. But after I met with Sonia ji and Rahul ji, my impression about them changed totally, drastically, I should say. Um, I realized that Rahul ji is a really good man, a gentleman, and a really good leader at that. And the way they asked me to go about Andhra also was very impressive because there was no force at all. There was no, it was a request, and it was totally my call.
Right.
Rahulji specifically did not want it to be like something imposed upon me, and I felt more useful in Andhra Pradesh because In Andhra Pradesh, Congress party was
Was
almost
almost, I mean, it
negligible.
still is.
Yeah.
So, in Telangana, coming to the most important part of this conversation, I want to talk to you about your legacy. And when you came here in January 2024 and you were made the APCC president, you had very little time for the general election and the state election. So in Telangana, if the weakened BRS and a hesitant BJP gave an opportunity to the Congress and it swung back into power in 2023, 10 years after the state was formed. Where do you see opportunity, or where did you see opportunity for Congress in Andhra Pradesh, given that it still has about 1.5% share?
No, no. I did not see Congress party resurfacing so immediately. We all knew that it's not going to happen immediately because the Congress didn't have organizational strength. We did not have cadre at the grassroots. We, for any party to be able to perform well, that's the most important.
Right.
That's, without that you cannot do anything. This was just trying to change the face of the Congress. It was only an attempt to say that, you know, Congress is going to bounce back. You know, it was not our way of saying, you know, bring back Congress, you know, to power. We knew we were not going to stand that chance. But we also knew that all the Congress vote bank was now with YCP.
Right, right.
And the only way to get it back is a head on fight.
Are you
And there
prepared
I
for that
was.
head-on fight? You were
Of
readying
course.
yourself for the head-on
Of
fight.
course I was. I was
So,
totally ready for the
so
head on fight. Because I believe that Congress party is a good party, and I very strongly believe that it is very important that Congress party comes to power in the center, because unless that happens, the state of Andhra Pradesh is not going to rise. You know, for our special status to be into force, BJP did not give it to us for the 10 years, and I knew that only Rahul Gandhi ji is going to give us a special status. And for that to happen, it was very important for Congress party to rise to power. And if it is my responsibility to bring Congress up in Andhra Pradesh, then that was my job. I was supposed to do it.
absolutely. So here comes the contestation of legacy between you and your brother. If the Congress party had to come to power, or at least rise up to a respectable vote share, it would mean that you claim your father's legacy. Are you your father's daughter politically as much as your brother is your father's son? Because he seemed to be having the first mover advantage. Maybe he already did.
Yeah, he already did because he ventured in first, and then he happens to be the son. And then the Indian psychology is that, you know, they drift more towards the male than the female. I know he has all the advantages, and that sympathy vote he had, and then he had the power. He was the sitting chief minister then when I became the Congress party president here. I knew all the advantages he had, I knew all the disadvantages we would have. But we also knew, I was very sure that our vote bank is now with the YCP. And the only way to bring it back is a head on fight. And if that's what it takes for Congress to bounce back, then that's what it should be. Because in the first place, the YCP vote bank was snatched from the Congress.
Right.
And if
All the
Congress
ministers, your father's colleagues are all there.
Exactly. And if Congress has to come back into the playground, then it has
Yeah.
to be a fight. We have to get into the field. We have to fight it
So
out.
is it personal as much as it is political?
It is definitely not personal. What differences I have with my brother, I leave it at home. I do not get it into the political arena. What I do here, what I talk here, is only political. The personal damage that was done to me was huge, not only to me but to my children as well. But I decided I won't get that to politics. Every time I venture out on a tour or on a press meet, I try and make sure that I stick to the political side of it. And there is no dearth for me, topics wise,
That's
to
right.
to talk about YCP, because they failed in many aspects. So yeah, It's just political for
So,
me.
in essence, you're saying that if the Congress party has to gain, it would have to be at YSRCP's laws in a way,
Exactly.
apart from, of course, other, political scenarios playing out in the state. Coming to legacy, tell me something, Sharmila Garu. Why is it that women get such a raw deal in politics? We've seen Kavita Garu in Telangana, we've seen Kanimuri ji in Tamil Nadu, we've seen Padmaja Venugopal ji also in Kerala. Why is it that women, and we have you as an example here who are having to, you know, set yourself up to big challenges? Why is it that women have to be working so hard and proving themselves doubly to be claiming a part of the legacy that seems so fair?
India is patriarchal. India is male dominated, and I think it's just that perception that men will do better, men can do better, men are stronger, um, and I don't know if we should blame entirely the men for it. I mean, even the women don't. You don't see many women choose politics as their career. In this time and age, I should not say that women are backward. Yes, women have ventured out. Women, into every field. Women are there in every field. But when it comes to politics, women still don't uh, have the courage to get into politics, because I should say that politics is a dirty playground. It's a very dirty
You say
playground.
so.
And you get into this field, then you are rolling in the mire. So, so naturally itself, I feel women take a step back, because eventually they're going to be, women in politics are usually defamed, they're maligned, they're slandered, um, their character is assassinated. In my case, my own brother's party indulged in it, and it's a very ugly thing. So I don't know if I should blame the women as well. It's not something I would want for our women. So, but I should say that it's a very unfortunate state that women are not appreciated in politics,
Right.
and women are not encouraged in politics, and thereby women don't step into politics.
What do you think would change this for women? Because just a little while ago, when we were speaking, when I mooted the idea of what about the 33% reservation, you said why 33? We should have 50%. If Indian politics has to change, don't you think it would be better if more women came in? And what would change it?
Exactly. There should be some kind of awareness among women that we should make a difference. Girls should not be afraid to step into politics. Doesn't matter. You will defame me. You will slander me. You will assassinate my character. You do anything you can. You do anything you want. I am here to stay. I am going to face this. This courage has to rise up in women, so much so that it has to change the entire perspective. I would really love to see that happen. And like I said before, I would really love to see the day when 50% of the parliament sits women.
What about your party in the Congress in Andhra? Would you make small changes here? You've just had a new DCC president. I don't see too many women there.
We don't have the luxury of choice in Andhra Pradesh, sadly. But I would definitely love to see that happen, not only in Andhra Pradesh, but in the entire Congress and in the entire country and in every party and especially in the parliament. I would definitely love to see that.
Let's hope so. Before we talk about the state politics, who's your idol? We've had Mrs. Indira Gandhi made your father the Andhra Pradesh Congress president. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and the leaders of this Congress party made you the Andhra Pradesh Congress president. Given that you've been exposed to politics right from your childhood, who are your idols within and outside of politics?
I think I think a lot of my dad. I think he's my go-to for everything, for every example. I mean, I would say my dad.
Speaking of your dad and his style of governance, welfare was very dear to him. Given the fact that YSRCP has been playing the welfare plank and gaining so much from it, and the NDA alliance led by the TDP moots the idea of development off and on, what's the space that Congress would like to be in AP?
Hmm. For Congress to resurface in AP, it's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be an easy task, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. Uh, Change is inevitable, and I'm sure people will see through all the political parties that are around in AP today. People will see through Mr. Chandrababu Naidu because right now he's just creating an illusion of a better Andhra Pradesh. He is saying he's getting investments worth 13 lakh crores. He's going to get employment for 20 lakhs, and he's saying his Super Six is super hit, while Congress is fighting that it's a super flop because he hasn't been able to deliver. He said he'll give jobs to 20 lakhs. He hasn't. He promised if he doesn't give jobs, then he will give 3,000 for every unemployed youth. That's not happening. The women were supposed to get 18,000 per year. All the women, more than at least I think 1 lakh, 1 crore
Right.
80 lakh women. I mean, all these promises that were made, they are just manifesto promises. No leader, be it YCP or Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, there is no intention to keep them.
Right.
They're just manifesto promises. That was not how it was for my dad. When he said he would do this, when he said he would waive off the electricity bills for the farmers, he went ahead and did it at the first stroke of the signature. That was his first signature. That's not what we see here. Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy said he would make the state free of liquor,
Yes.
but ended up doing a liquor scam so big that liquor was not sold on digital payments but only for cash. Things like that. Jagan Mohan Reddy was not even able to finish the Jalayagnam, the irrigation projects that my dad so
Started.
desperately wanted to finish. So we don't see anyone fulfilling the people's aspirations these days. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu is again saying we'll have a capital, but the promise made to Andhra people was that a capital will be built by the central government for us, and now the center is only giving us loans, not
Yes.
even funds for the capital. So I really don't know where this is headed. But I don't see diligence either in Chandrababu Naidu or Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy for the people of Andhra Pradesh. I think all of them are in alliance with the BJP because nobody talks against the BJP. Of course, the Kutami, I mean, this alliance is anywhere there. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, Pawan Kalyan are not going to talk about the BJP. But it also looks like Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy has been and is in a secret alliance with the BJP. Therefore, he doesn't talk anything against Mr. Modi and BJP. So, yeah, so there's no integrity on the part of the politicians, is what I mean to say.
So, who is your principal opposition here? Is it the YSRCP because you have to gain at their loss, or is it the BJP and or the NDA and or the TDP that leads here? Because given that it's going to take quite a while for the Congress to resurface and claim its might here in Andhra, what are you planning to do in the interim?
Our main opposition is still going to be the government because the government is
Of the day.
government of the day, and Mr. Chandrababu Naidu is still going to be our prime target, and of course BJP because BJP hasn't been doing anything for our state even till today. The privatization of the steel factory
Steel
looms
plant in
large
Vizag.
upon
Yeah.
us. Yeah, so so we will continue to fight Telugu Desam and the Kutami and the BJP. And along the way, of course, we will try to get our vote share bank.
Right. Before we close, every leader needs a very devout follower and someone who could stand by their side. Mr. KVP Ramchandra Rao was one such strong stalwart, Congress stalwart with your father. Who is your support system in the party now? given the fact that your family is divided between your party and your brothers, who's that one person who you look to for support and strength?
Hmm. God is with me.
You say
I
so.
am a believer. I believe God is in me, with me all along the way. I'm sure He'll see me through.
We saw your son make his first appearance sometime last time. He was also wearing a Congress patka. It gave a lot of people some hope. Is he interested? Are either of your children interested in politics? Now that you say that more women have to be there,
As of now, not yet.
Ni- neither of them is
Neither of
interested.
them, yeah.
What about your son?
Not yet. It's too early.
It's too early to say, or it's too early for him to join?
It's too early to say. I mean, it's his life. He can do what he wants to do with it. I wouldn't force anything on him.
You wouldn't mind him being part of your party either?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If he wants to, most welcome.
Oh, lovely. What about your husband then?
I think he's decided that he doesn't want to be in politics, so I can't say that of him. Yeah, so he's an evangelist.
Yes.
Yeah,
He wouldn't even
happy to-
campaign for you because you could gain greatly with his campaign. He's a very vociferous and convincing speaker, I hear.
Yeah. No, his calling is different, so I don't think he'd campaign for me. He would stand by me, but not campaign for me.
Okay. Would the Congress's turnaround begin with your win first? You stood at Pulivendula, at Kadapa. I stand corrected. Would that mean, would your win be the beginning of Congress's wins? There's still some time to go, but would that mark a change and a beginning?
We cannot say. I don't know if I'll contest the next time. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But Congress as a party has to grow, and I'm going to stay here for a very long time as the Congress chief. And it is my duty to make sure that Congress party is strengthened in Andhra Pradesh. So I'll do my best to strengthen Andhra Pradesh to get its vote share back, whatever it takes.
It takes a lot of forbearance for one to actually stay in this field and deliver. You think you're prepared for the long haul?
Yes, yes, totally, totally. I don't think this was a short term commission. I never thought it was. I think I came here knowing that this is going to be a long term game because Congress party is almost negligible in Andhra Pradesh, and to pick it up to a place where it actually, stands a fair chance of winning an election is going to be a long journey, but we have the age, we have the energy, so yeah, why not?
Would you end on a hopeful note? What would you say that's up for the Congress?
Our country today needs Congress party. Our country today needs Congress party because our country is a democratic country and we have a constitution that is self-sufficient, but we do not have a government right now that respects the constitution or the democracy of this country. Today we see BJP holding in its grasp almost all the agencies in our country, be it income tax, be it ED, be it CBI, be it the stock exchanges, even the election commission. Everything, BJP is holding. And everything is, I mean, no agency is free to work on its own. I, I really, really believe that this is not healthy for a democracy. If this continues to be like this, then we cannot, even as Indian citizens, protect our own constitution. And if there is no constitution, there is no secularism.
Right.
And the whole, you know, the fabric
Fabric of
this,
democracy.
yeah, it's going to be destroyed. And it's very essential that the citizens of this country rise up now to protect our country. And for that, I think Congress is the only answer. And I'm seeing Mr. Rahul Gandhi emerge as a great leader since the time of his Padayatra. There was no need for it, but he went ahead and took it upon himself to uphold the peace and the fraternity of this country, and he advocated love, and he said that we as one country should stand together in love irrespective of our region or religion or language or I think that was very admirable, and he since then I think he's emerging as an amazing leader even to this day. Yeah, with the grit that he's fighting with, I mean, he's emerged, he's proven himself that he can be a very great and amazing
Right.
prime minister. And I'm really hopeful that day will come when Congress comes to power in the center, more so for the people of Andhra Pradesh, because Andhra Pradesh needs special category status. We have been waiting for this, and Mr. Rahulji has promised us 10 years of special status. So I'm really hopeful this will happen soon and Andhra Pradesh will get that special status. And of course, we have major projects like Polavaram
Polavaram.
project, our capital, none of it was
Yes,
delivered
yes.
by the BJP.
Yes.
Andhra Pradesh desperately needs Congress to come to power. And I think every state has its own reasons why Congress should come to power. And I really feel it's time for a change.
All right. On that, even if there's a glimmer of hope, on that note, let's end. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me on.
Yes.